OpenStack cloud platform. So similarly, today we discuss about Amazon. Today we discuss about Windows Azure. Have you ever used any web service of Windows Azure? Hmm? Hello. Have
Yeah,
you
yes,
used
sir.
any? Have you used Azure so far?
So web
Huh?
services are used as a AWS.
Okay, you have used AWS.
Yes, sir.
Okay, Azure you have not at all used.
No,
Have
sir.
you used Office 365?
No, sir.
No. Microsoft Teams? No. SkyDrive? What about
Yes.
SkyDrive? Hmm?
Little bit, sir, but not
Yeah, it's
proper.
quite popular. Yeah, SkyDrive is quite popular. I think at least few of you might have used. Okay, we'll see. Okay, now whatever I told, those are all the tools. Those are all the services available under Microsoft Azure. Okay, Microsoft is having popular services like this one, SkyDrive, which is quite popular among the students because just like Google Drive, you will be using for it to store your data remotely on the cloud. So and it's a free service. And Office 365, and nowadays Microsoft Teams. In industry, most of the times they'll not rely on Zoom or something like that. Usually they use WebEx or Microsoft Teams to conduct meetings and video conferences. Okay, that is also part of Microsoft Azure. Okay, today we'll see in the theoretical aspects of Microsoft Azure, and tomorrow we'll see the demo. So as I told, tomorrow demo that will be given by one of my sixth semester student, Daneshwari. She will give you the demo tomorrow 8:30. Don't miss it. Tomorrow at 8:30, 8:35. Okay, and I'll start with Microsoft Azure. Okay, what is Azure? Microsoft Azure is a cloud computing platform and infrastructure created by Microsoft for the purpose of building, deploying, and managing applications and services through a global network of Microsoft managed data centers. Through this definition, we'll come to know that we can build, deploy, and manage applications and services through a global network, which is managed by Microsoft. Okay, that's what the Microsoft Azure will do. And Microsoft Azure is a growing collection of integrated cloud services. Remember, it's a growing collection of integrated cloud services. That means every day they keep adding the resources. Okay, as per the client needs, as per the business needs of their clients, they keep adding the resources. And the cloud services includes analytics, computing, database, mobile, networking, storage, and web for moving faster, achieving more, and saving money. Okay, they are telling means they're telling that if you go with Azure, you can move faster. That means you can run your business faster, and you can achieve more and save money. Okay, so that's what Microsoft tells. And look at the top 10 cloud computing providers. The first is Amazon, and the second is Azure, and the third is IBM, and fourth is Google Cloud. So always there is a competition for one and two, and also for three and four. Okay, so but now when we take the revenue as a parameter, right? Okay, as per today's demand, so I think Microsoft Azure stands first in terms of revenue. But when you say in terms of services and number of clients, Amazon is having the upper hand. So that means Amazon is having more number of clients than Microsoft Azure. Why? Just because they started quite earlier than Microsoft Azure. And the biggest advantage of Microsoft Azure is that when you compare the Amazon and Microsoft, whatever the services Amazon provides, Azure is also providing. Okay, but the major difference is the major Microsoft emphasizes on platform as a service, and Amazon emphasizes on infrastructure as a service. But both of them provide all the services: IaaS, PaaS, and SaaS. And another thing is the GUI of Microsoft Azure. Your most is more user friendly compared to that of AWS. That is Azure. Sorry, that is Amazon AWS. And Microsoft Azure provides more flexible pricing models compared to Amazon. In that sense, now more and more people are moving towards Azure rather than Amazon or AWS. See, so until the recent times in Bangalore, especially in Bangalore, more companies were relying on Amazon AWS. Now, still it's happening, but nowadays, most of the companies who are starting to consume cloud services, their choice has become Microsoft Azure because of its flexible pricing models and its very user-friendly interface. Okay, let us see more about Azure. Okay, let us see the pros and cons of Microsoft Azure. The pros, that is the advantages, are high availability, security, scalability, and cost effectiveness. So for many attempts, we have already discussed what is high availability, security, scalability, and cost effectiveness. So it becomes redundant if I tell it again and again. Windows Azure has a great feature set. It is quite easy to use and is one of the handful of cloud hosts who support ASP.NET. See, not many cloud platforms will provide the support for ASP.NET. So in that sense, Azure is having upper hand because ASP.NET is its own product, so it supports ASP.NET. And the disadvantages are requires management, requires platform expertise. See, this disadvantage is not only for Microsoft Azure. This is a disadvantage for every cloud platform. Suppose you take OpenStack, you take AWS, um, you should have platform expertise and you should manage the resources. See why? Because unless you manage what all the resources you are consuming from the cloud platform, it becomes very costlier for you. Because if you do not track, you will be paying more money. Okay, that's the thing. And the major disadvantage of Microsoft Azure is it doesn't explicitly support PHP or Ruby. Okay, so that we need to understand. It doesn't explicitly support PHP or Ruby. That is the major drawback of Microsoft Azure. Then some best features: familiarity of Windows. If you are familiar with using Windows, then very easily you can sail with Microsoft Azure, and it supports 64-bit Windows virtual machines. And Azure provides software development kit, that is SDK, using which you can develop the software. And later on, it will also provide the platform. Say, for example, if you want to host the application, you have IIS server. Okay, everything it provides, and Azure also provides database related services and storage related services, even the network related services. So it's a complete package. Azure networking security groups are available, and pay as you go service. That is, they are having flexible pricing models, and it supports RDP. RDP is a protocol, that is remote desktop. So while giving demo of AWS, there we used RDP. So that means we need to understand RDP is a proprietary protocol developed by Microsoft, and it is also used by many other cloud vendors like AWS. So Microsoft Azure provides remote desktop facility, virtual machine, SSD storage, multiple OS images, and other features. So this is the Azure Customer Relationship Management Portal login screen. See, see why I'm showing this slide is just to understand the how the interface looks like. Okay, the interface looks like as if you are using any normal website. And look at the Azure CRM portal home screen. So it's very easy to use and it's very user friendly. Just to depict how user friendly it is, I'm using these screens. Now, comparison of Azure App Service, virtual machines, fabric and cloud services. First, let us see what is app service, that is application service, and is the best choice for most web applications. Deployment and management are integrated into the platform. Sites can scale quickly to handle high traffic loads, and the built-in load balancing and traffic manager provide high availability. Look at the second point. Deployment and management are integrated into the platform. So that means to deploy the application, you have the IaaS server. Then to manage it, okay, the management console is also available. And upon that, they are telling that you can quickly handle the high traffic loads. That means if you want more resources on demand, you can consume and you can handle the traffic loads. And if you want to put a break for the VM incoming traffic, so that also you can do with the help of load balancers. So all those facilities are available. And built-in load balancing and traffic manager provide high availability. So traffic manager is also available. That means you can set so what can be the maximum traffic. So if more requests are coming to the machine, it will just block them. Okay, it is also possible to manage the traffic. Next is service fabric. It is a good choice if you are creating a new application or rewriting an existing application to use a microservice architecture. Nowadays, it's quite common. People are developing microservices. So microservices means basically you need to understand the simple features are implemented as as services, and since they are simple in nature, we call them as microservices. You might have heard, I think, when you talk to any industry person, they'll be telling that. So I'm working on developing microservices. That means that for any application, they'll be developing individual features separately, and they call it as microservices. And it supports microservice architecture. Azure supports microservice architecture. Next is cloud services. Cloud services is similar to Service Fabric in degree of control versus ease of use, but it is now a legacy service, and Service Fabric is recommended for new development. See, cloud service and there is no much difference between cloud service and Service Fabric. Both look similar. So, and cloud service is a legacy and it's a very big umbrella. And the modern term is Service Fabric, since in the modern days many features are developed as microservices. So they're okay, and it is deployed under the architecture, and we call it as Service Fabric. If you have an existing application that would require substantial modifications to run in App Service or Service Fabric, you could choose virtual machines in order to simplify migrating to the cloud. Azure Virtual Machines is infrastructure as a service, while App Service and Service Fabric are platform as a service. See, we need to understand. Okay, so based upon the requirements, so what is our approach towards going to the cloud? So, and they are telling that if you are having existing applications or if you are doing modifications to the applications and relaunching them, then the better choice is to deal with virtual machines in order to simplify migrating to the cloud. When it comes to migrating, the major feature is the downtime. When you want to migrate your especially when your application is a critical application, the downtime plays very important role in business continuity and business revenue. So when you go with the virtual machines, you can migrate your applications completely without any downtime. That means your application will be continuously up and running, but still you will be able to migrate. Okay, look at this diagram shows the difference between IaaS, PaaS, and SaaS. So look at this prism, the bottommost. Okay, that is the maximum portion of the prism, that is infrastructure as a service. Okay, infrastructure includes, look at this diagram. So infrastructure includes Mm, the servers, storage, networking, and so on. And the platform as a service. So when I say platform as a service, it includes the compilers, interpreters, web servers, and so on. And software as a service, so Microsoft Office 365, SkyDrive, OpenOffice, all those things are part of software as a service. Software as a service. Software as a service is a software distribution model in which a third party provider hosts applications and makes them available to customers over the internet. Example, email. You take any email, so especially Gmail and Yahoo. So they are the software interfaces actually which provides email services. So therefore, it's a software as a service. Even SkyDrive, Google Drive, all these things are software as a service, and OpenOffice and platform as a service. So already many times we have discussed. So platform as a service model provides you computing platforms, which typically includes operating system, programming language, execution environment, databases, web server, compilers, interpreters, and so on. So next, infrastructure. So infrastructure provides an infrastructure such as virtual machines, other resources like virtual machine disk, image library, block and file based storage, firewalls. You remember even the firewalls are infrastructure, load balancers, IP addresses, virtual LANs, etc. So this is one of the most popular Azure service, that is Azure PowerShell. See, in Linux you have a Linux shell, isn't it? So now I think you might have seen one advertisement by Microsoft. So actually they ran a campaign. So the name of the campaign is Microsoft loves Linux. So that means, see, actually when it comes to operating system, so there are two popular categories. There can be so many types of operating systems, but majorly we have two popular categories. One is Windows based operating systems and another one is Linux based operating systems. So the major drawback of Windows is that security. So when you say Windows, everyone knows that it is not as secure as Linux, but the biggest advantage is its ease of use. So now to overcome that security lapses, now Windows has come with PowerShell. Now you take any modern operating system, the PowerShell is inbuilt with a Microsoft operating system. Say for example, if you have Windows 10, you have, that means you have already PowerShell with you. So what you can do with PowerShell? So what you are doing with Linux shell, that can be that can be done by using um, Windows PowerShell. Okay, so the task that you are doing with Linux shell, that can be done with Azure PowerShell. So therefore this can be used as a one interface to deal with the applications that are hosted on cloud. And another thing you need to know, whenever we say cloud, most of the times the servers are maintained by using Linux-based operating systems. And for using for controlling purpose, the dashboard and all that, such things will be installed on uh, Windows. So look at the PowerShell command, that is the command prompt. So here you can log in. If you see the right side screen shows you. So the login, if you log in to how to log into the PowerShell, and the left side you can see the PowerShell. And more, and Azure PowerShell also supports most of the commands that are supported by Linux. Say for example, ls. If you type ls in Linux, it will show you the list of files and directories. Similarly, here also, if you type ls, it will show list of files and directories. So that, I think, yeah, we'll see if we get time. We'll see one demo of that. So most of the commands that are supported in Linux are also supported in PowerShell. Okay, next, this slide gives you some of the information about how to start, restart, and delete virtual machines by using the Microsoft Azure PowerShell. That is the command prompt. Okay, these are the commands. Okay, I'll give you this uh, notes. You can read it later. Now, even if I tell it looks strange for you, why? Because just because we have not used it. Look at the commands are very simple command. Add -Azure account, login Azure remote account. Okay, so $RG name is equal to your group name. That means you are storing the group name in a scalar variable by name, RG name. Okay, so like that. So this gives you the Azure SDK using web platform installer. Okay, tomorrow you can see all these things in the demo. Azure Cloud Service, high availability, scalable, entire cloud. See, entire cloud means you need to understand what is two tier, three tier, and entire. See, two tier means one there is a client and there is a server. That is called two tier. Three tier means there is a client, there is a server, and there is a database or some interlinked another server. Okay, that can be a data server, file server, or anything. So when I say entire, so there is a client, there is a server. So server is attached to n number of other servers, like one database server, one file server, one email server, and so on. That is the entire. So that means Azure Cloud Services supports for entire model, entire cloud model. Azure Cloud Services, your application is divided into two parts, each served by a separate web or worker role. The web role instance respond to HTTP requests and make your website faster by speeding up page delivery times, web transaction processing, and so on. Worker role instances handle message and background job processing, such as asynchronous processing of emails, large databases transactions, and computing heavy tasks like data processing and indexing. See, that means in Azure Cloud Service, we need to understand that our application will be divided into two parts, that is web part and worker part. And we call it as two roles. One is the web role and another one is the worker role. So web role deals with the HTML. Okay, so fastly loading the page, fastly redirecting the request to another web page, and so on. And whereas the worker role deals with the processing part, so that is handling the messages and the background processing, receiving the replies, and so on, and interacting with the databases, executing the transactions, queries, and so on. So web role HTTP requests and runs Windows Server with your web application automatically deployed to IIS server. So we know that IIS is a default web server available with Windows. And the worker role back is used for background job processing and it runs Windows Server without IIS. So here we need to understand the difference between the working of web role and the worker role. So web role works with the help of IIS, and the worker role runs Windows Server without IIS. Okay, so for web role, IIS is required. For worker role, IIS is not required. And look at the Azure Cloud Service applications files .csdf, .cscfg, and .cspkg. A cloud service is created from three components: service definition, CSDF means service definition, and CSCFG means the service configuration, and the CSPKG means service package. Both the service definition and service config files are XML based and describes the structure of cloud service and how it's configured. And it is collectively called as the cloud model. And the service package, that is a zip file that is generated from the service definition and among other things contains all the required binary based dependencies. Azure creates a cloud service from both the service package and service config. So that means we need to understand that the first two types are XML based files, and the third one, that is package file, that is a zip file. Okay, and you need to understand what are by dependencies. See, when you work with Java, to deal with, see, if you want to load any library, you will deal with jar files. Now the modern trend is that the alternative to these um, jar files is dependencies. So dependencies are those which are nothing but actually the XML based tags. We need to download, say for example, if you want dependencies for some particular tool, say for example Maven. Maven is a build tool. You need to go to the Maven website and you can download the dependencies for a specific version, and you can come and put it in your project configuration file. Okay, so that your project, for your project, automatically your IDE will start downloading the required library files instead of you physically copying the jar files and putting it in the lib folder. So in that sense, by using the dependencies within the XML file will greatly reduce your updation related tasks. So create ACS application in VS. Tomorrow we'll see these things in demo. So now these are all the GUI related things. Tomorrow we will see all these things in detail with the help of a demo. So don't miss, tomorrow there is a demo at 8:30. So we'll see how to deal with virtual machines in Microsoft Azure, how to install an application. So and how to see. So what are all the other simple things we can do? Now let us see what is access control list. It selectively permit or deny incoming traffic based on remote subnet IPv4 address range to a virtual machine input endpoint. So it is used for actively blocking or allowing the IP addresses in the virtual machine endpoint. So that means you can consider virtual machine as an endpoint, and there you can block or deny the particular IP addresses, and you can blacklist IP addresses. You can create multiple rules per virtual machine endpoint, then specify up to 50 access control list rules per virtual machine endpoint. Say for example, see if actually you can see in the initially I told you can control traffic, you can put a load balancer with respect to each virtual machine, and also it is possible to block the IP addresses, and you can set the rules or you can customize the rules for each of the virtual machine, or you can configure the, or you can, what you can do, you can make a group of virtual machines, and for that group you can apply the rules. Use rule ordering to ensure the correct set of rules are applied on a given virtual machine endpoint. Specify an access control list for a specific remote subnet IPv4 address. See, I told that the definition file, it's an XML based file. So look at how it looks like. This is a definition file and resource group. Okay, we'll see. Okay, whenever we deal with virtualization or cloud, okay, we deal with the resource groups. That means whenever we create any virtual machines, we'll make it part of some resource group. That also tomorrow we'll demonstrate. Even with while giving demo of AWS also we saw somewhere the name resource group. So there we did not select any resource group. Why? Because we are not a company. So we don't have any groups like developer group, uh, operations group, testing group or something like that. So in that case, so in our example, it was added to the default AWS group. Okay, we'll see the what is the basic definition of resource group. A container that holds related resources for an Azure solution. That means it's a container. It holds the related resources for Azure solution. The resource group can include all the resources for the solution or only those resources that you want to manage as a group. You decide how you want to allocate resources to resource groups based on what makes the most sense of your organization. Say, for example, whatever the virtual machines that you use, whatever the guest operating systems you use, whatever the web servers or application servers that you use, you can make it as a group. That means whatever you want to manage, you make it as a group. See, the whole idea of having a resource group is to manage it. So, as per your requirements, you decide what are the things that you are going to manage. So, you put all those things under one common group. You give some meaningful name, and you can manage it. Okay, so resource group. So we know why we need resource group. Now we'll see what are the benefits of using resource manager. So my resource manager is a dashboard. So let us see why we need it. You can deploy, manage, and monitor all the resources for your solution as a group rather than handling these resources individually. So if you want to manage any resource individually, so it's a very big headache. So instead of that, we bring them together into one place. We put it inside a one container and we call it as a resource group. Then we manage from one single point. So that is always advantageous and less risky. You can repeatedly deploy your solution throughout the development lifecycle and have confidence your resources are deployed in a consistent state. Okay, to maintain consistency throughout the development lifecycle, so resource groups are very much essential. You can manage your infrastructure through declarative templates rather than scripts. So here the concept of templates are very important. So tomorrow we'll see if possible we will also demonstrate the concept of templates. Say for example, I'll give you one example of what is a template within the context of cloud computing. Say for example, I want to have Linux Red Hat version 2.4 operating system with default 30 GB of storage or customized 50 GB of storage, and I want one Apache particular version of the web server. Okay, and I want some particular storage. So first I'll create one virtual machine with this configuration, and I'll convert this virtual machine into a template. Okay, so now say how the procedure to create a template is that first of all you have to create one virtual machine, then you can convert it into a template. So the next time, instead of creating a virtual machine with the whatever I have told the configuration, you can clone that template, or you can. So there will be an option to create a virtual machine by using the existing template. Okay, always there is a provision when you go to any cloud. So there is a provision you can create a virtual machine by using the existing template. So that is also possible. So that's the meaning of template. So you have the already you have created one sample virtual machine and you are calling it as a template, and you are just recreating it with the same configuration. So when you going to create an virtual machine by using the existing template, again it will not ask you what kind of operating system you want. So and again it will not allow you to select the storage and all, because already it's a template it has selected. And you can define the dependencies between resources so they are deployed in the correct order. So order of deployment is very important. You can apply access control to all services in your resource group, because role based access control, that is RBAC, is natively integrated into the management platform. Okay, that's one more advantage. You can apply tags to resources to logically organize all the resources in your subscription. See, adding the tags is nothing but giving some meaningful names. See, in our demo, uh, creating that virtual machine, we gave the name web server. Why? Because so we were creating that virtual machine to host one sample website. So for that we use IIS server. So hence we gave that name web server. So tags are nothing but giving some meaningful names to the resources. So the resources can be and virtual machine and guest operating system, anything. You can clarify your organization's billing by using costs for a group of resources sharing the same tag. See, when you say cost, so it is there are so many options how you can configure. You can pay per individual resource, or you can pay. So you can group together the resources and you can pay per group at group level. So within a group there can be a number of resources like storage, virtual machine, IP addresses, and so on. For cumulatively, by combining all those costs, okay, you can pay what is the cost incurred per group. Say within a company, there can be multiple groups. So it is very meaningful to track. Okay, so what is the cost? So cloud cost incurred for development group. So what is the cloud computing cost incurred for testing group? So like that, it makes sense. Okay, so to deal at group levels. Then we will see what are network security groups. A network security group contains a list of access control list, rules that allow or deny network traffic to your virtual machine instances in a virtual network. That is to control the traffic and to block. Okay, for security reasons, we use it at VM level. Network security group, that is the NSG, can be associated with either subnets or individual virtual machine instances within that subnet. When a NSG is associated with a subnet, the ACL rules apply to all the virtual machine instances in that subnet. So that means you can apply common rules uh, to an entire subnet, or if you wish, you can apply to a single virtual machine instance. In addition, traffic to an individual virtual machine can be restricted further by associating an NSG directly to that virtual machine. That also already we have to. Okay. So all these things tomorrow we'll see. Okay. Thank you. Because already time is 10:31. Thank you. Any doubt? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I'll send these PPTs to you. Thank you.